My neighbor offered to help while I was hospitalized. When I returned, my home was gutted. Furniture gone. Photos burned. She smiled. I thought you died. I was just reclaiming wasted space. My voice trembled as I said her name. She turned coldly and replied, I don't answer to that anymore. And then I discovered. I'm not sure how to start this. My hands are still shaking as I type. I guess I just need to get it all out. I'm 61 years old. I live in Yakima, Washington, in the same house my wife and I bought back in '91. She passed away 5 years ago, and since then it's just been me. Quiet life. I don't cause problems, I keep to myself, and I pay my bills on time. I've lived in this neighborhood longer than most people here. A few houses down was Julie Richards. Around 45, divorced, always dressed a little flashy for a small town, always had something to say. She moved in about 2 years ago. At first, she seemed okay. Loud, sure, but polite enough. She'd wave from her porch, bring over tomatoes from her garden, chat when we crossed paths. We weren't friends, but we were neighborly. Back in March, I ended up in the hospital. What was supposed to be a quick surgery turned into a nightmare. A bowel obstruction got worse, I had complications, got an infection, then sepsis. My kidneys started to fail. I was in the ICU for 2 weeks, and by the time they moved me out of critical care, I couldn't walk or talk properly. I was in that hospital for nearly 2 months. I had no close family nearby. My son's in Texas, my daughter's in Michigan. They both visited once, but they've got their own lives, and I get that. So I asked Julie before I went in, would you mind grabbing my mail while I'm out? Maybe keep an eye on the place? She smiled and said, of course. It's no trouble at all. One of the nurses told me, a couple weeks into my stay, your neighbor called. She wanted to know how you were doing. That made me feel better. I thought, okay, someone's looking out. But when I got out, everything changed. It was early May. The hospital finally cleared me to leave. I couldn't drive yet, so I took a cab back home. It pulled up to my driveway, and right away I noticed something was off. My porch swing was gone. Curtains were missing from the windows. My front lawn was trimmed. Too well, like someone had been taking care of it. That wouldn't be weird if not for everything else. I unlocked the front door and walked in. And my stomach dropped. The house was empty. Not someone broken empty. Not a few things stolen empty. Completely stripped. I mean everything was gone. My recliner. The couch. My old TV. The bookshelf I'd built with my wife. Every plate, every fork, every damn towel. Gone. I walked from room to room in shock. My bedroom had no bed. No dresser. Just empty walls and a few hangers on the floor. The closet was empty. Not even my shoes were left. It looked like the place had been cleared out for a real estate showing. Then I got to the living room fireplace. Inside were ashes and blackened scraps. At first I didn't get it. Then I looked closer. Burned photo paper. A melted frame hinge. A corner of my son's high school graduation photo. My wedding photo, burned. Someone had taken my memories and destroyed them. I staggered outside and made my way to Julie's house. My legs were still weak from the hospital stay. I leaned on the railing and knocked. She opened the door and looked me up and down. Her lips curled into a smile. Well, look who it is, she said like I'd just come back from a vacation. I couldn't find my voice at first. Then I asked, Julie, what happened to my house? She tilted her head. Oh, that old place? I thought you died. What? It sat there empty for so long. I figured you weren't coming back. I was just reclaiming wasted space. I stared at her. My throat was tight. I said her name. Julie, she interrupted, smile gone now. I don't answer to that anymore. She shut the door in my face. I stood there frozen. I must have looked like a ghost. My hands were shaking. I tried calling the police, but they didn't take me seriously at first. Said it sounded like a civil matter. I was barely out of the hospital. I didn't even know what day it was, and now this? But it wasn't just about the stuff. It was what I discovered next. I called the police again the next morning, after a sleepless night spent on the floor of my empty house, using a coat I found in the closet as a blanket. This time, I insisted they come out. I told them everything was gone. That it wasn't a robbery, it was a full-scale wipeout. I explained who Julie was and what she said. The dispatcher finally agreed to send someone over. An officer came by that afternoon. Officer Dent. Young guy, looked like he didn't shave yet. He walked through the house with a notepad, nodding like he was just going through the motions. "Do you have any photos of the inside before this happened?" he asked. "I was in the hospital," I said. "Almost died. I didn't exactly plan on someone robbing me blind." He paused. "Any insurance?" "No," I said. "Paid the house off years ago. No one to leave it to." He sighed. "We'll make a report. But if she says she thought you were dead and claims you told her she could take things, this could get sticky." "You said you asked her to watch the house? Not move in and light my life on fire." He gave me a look. "We'll talk to her." 2 days later, Officer Dent called me back. Said Julie denied everything. Claimed she hadn't entered the house once. Said I must have left it unlocked and someone else came in. When I told him about what she said to me on the porch, he told me, "Unless we have it on record or in writing, it's her word against yours." I asked about the burned photos. He said, "There's no way to prove who did it." I didn't sleep that night either. The next day, I started knocking on neighbors' doors. Most weren't home or didn't want to talk. Finally, I got hold of an older guy across the street, Walt. Retired trucker, always sitting on his porch with a beer in the evenings. We'd waved a few times before. I told him what happened. His eyes narrowed. "You didn't tell her she could move in?" "Move in? What the hell are you talking about? She was here for weeks. Had a U-Haul out front. Had some guys helping her. She said you passed away and she was your niece, inheriting the house." I thought it was strange, but hell, what do I know? My heart stopped. "Did she bring anyone else in?" Walt nodded slowly. "Yeah. Some guy and a younger girl. They were hauling stuff out for days. Furniture, TVs, even the fridge." I remember thinking, damn, that's fast. Figured maybe you had no family. I felt sick. She lied. She told people I was dead. Sure looks that way. That's when I knew I had to dig deeper. I went to the county office and requested property records, just in case she tried something. The deed was still in my name, thank God. But something else caught my eye. A change of address form had been filed for my mail. Redirected to her house. I went straight to the post office. Showed them my ID. The clerk confirmed it. 2 weeks after I went into the hospital, Julie submitted a mail forwarding request for my address, claimed to be my relative. I filed a fraud report right there. Back home, I started a list of every item I could remember. Furniture. Tools. Even my wife's keepsakes. Then I opened the crawl space hatch in the hallway. I had forgotten all about it. There, under the floorboards, was an old army duffel bag. Inside was a shoebox. My wife's ring. A bundle of letters. An envelope with $1,300 in cash. It was all untouched. Then I heard a sound outside. A car door. I peered through the front window. Julie was walking back toward her house with someone I hadn't seen before. A man. Tall, thin, shaved head. He had a clipboard. Looked official. They stood in her driveway talking. He handed her a form. Something felt off. I stepped out on the porch. She saw me and smiled. That same fake, poisonous smile. Nice to see you up and about, she said, loud enough for the man to hear. We were just finalizing some paperwork. What kind of paperwork? She looked at the man. Don't mind him, she said. That's the previous occupant. He's not all there. The man glanced at me with concern. You're the homeowner? I nodded. I never sold my house. I was in the hospital. The man looked stunned. He flipped through his clipboard. This was listed as a property transfer due to death of the owner. Power of attorney, signed by someone named Julie Richards. My blood ran cold. I never signed anything, I said. She forged it. His face went pale. Julie's smile cracked just a bit. You're confused, she snapped. You said I could, I never said that. The man looked between us. I'll need to make a call. Julie turned and walked inside her house, slamming the door. That was the first real crack in her story. But it wasn't the last. Because a week later, I found something in her garbage that changed everything. I never planned to go through her garbage. But after everything, I stopped caring about what was normal. I needed proof. And if the police weren't going to do anything, I'd find it myself. It was trash day. Early morning. She'd put her bins out the night before. I waited until her lights went out, then slipped on gloves and pulled the lid off the recycling bin. First few bags were junk. Junk mail, wrappers, wine bottles. But then, I found a crumpled manila envelope. It was addressed to me. My full name, clear as day. Inside were 2 documents, one was a letter from my life insurance provider. The other was a copy of a death certificate. My death certificate. I stared at it, cold all over. It had my name, my birthday, the right address. Said I died in April, of septic shock. Stamped, signed, filed. I thought maybe it was fake, but it looked too real. She filed a death certificate for me. And used it to take over my house. My hands were shaking as I took photos. I put everything back exactly how I found it and rushed back to the house. I called the police again. This time I insisted. She filed a false death certificate, I told them. I have proof. They sent a detective out the next day. Detective Raymer. Older guy, serious face. He listened. Took notes. Took pictures of the envelope and documents I had pulled from her bin. Said it looked serious. She might have committed fraud across several agencies, he said. That's felony territory. I asked him, can she be arrested for this? He nodded slowly. If we can link it all back to her? Yes. For the first time in weeks, I felt a flicker of hope. But then came the fire. It happened 3 nights later. I was asleep in the back bedroom, on an air mattress I borrowed from Walt, when I smelled smoke. Thick. Acrid. My eyes snapped open. The hallway outside was glowing orange. I crawled out, coughing, and saw flames through the front window. My porch was on fire. Someone had lit the front steps and swing area on fire with gasoline. The flames scorched the siding and shattered the front window before the fire department got it under control. The cause was ruled arson. And I didn't need to guess who did it. Julie came out to watch it burn. She stood across the street in a bathrobe, holding a cup of coffee like it was a damn show. When the fire chief turned around, she smiled at me and said, "See? That house is cursed." The next day, I went back to Walt's place. I was done waiting. I need your help, I told him. He grunted. What's the plan? So I told him. About the fire. The forged documents. The fake death certificate. He nodded slowly. I'll get the boys, he said. Turns out Walt used to run with a few of the local vets. A bunch of old guys who didn't like being pushed around. Over the next few days, they helped me get security cameras up around the house. High ones, hidden. One of them helped me set up a motion alert system. Another showed me how to get backups sent to my phone. 2 nights later, just after 2 a.m., the alert went off. Camera caught her. Julie. Dressed in black. Holding a gas can. Walking through my yard. She didn't start another fire, but she tried to get in. When the motion lights came on, she bolted. But I had the video. I gave it straight to Detective Raymer the next morning. He watched the clip 3 times. You just made this a lot easier. That same afternoon, they served a warrant at her house. They found half my belongings in her basement. Tagged with sticky notes. Labeled garage sale. Some still in boxes. My wife's quilt. My son's high school letterman jacket. My tools. Everything. They also found more forms, multiple forged signatures. A fake will naming her as sole heir. And tucked into a drawer in her bedroom, a notepad with my signature scribbled over and over. They arrested her that evening. But that wasn't the end. Because when I went to the impound lot to recover some of my things, I saw a box I didn't recognize. Inside were files. Dozens of them. Names. Photos. Addresses. And a note that read, Targeted Properties, Stage 2, Clean Transfer/Obituary Prep. Julie wasn't just trying to steal my house. She'd done it before. And she wasn't working alone. That discovery flipped everything upside down. Detective Raymer called me the next morning. His voice was sharper now. You need to come down here. There's more to this. When I got to the station, they showed me the files from Julie's box. Each one had a different name, mostly older people, all living alone, all in the area. There were pictures taken from the street. Notes on their health, daily routines, even where their kids lived. Some had red check marks. One of those names? Tom Levine. I recognized it. He lived 3 blocks over. Died last year, heart failure. Everyone said it was natural. But now, his property had been quietly sold 3 weeks after his funeral. Julie had helped with the arrangements. She'd done this before. And she wasn't alone. Turns out that tall, bald man with the clipboard? His name was Travis Minter. A fake notary and unlicensed contractor. He'd been helping Julie forge paperwork and prep homes for resale. Detective Raymer said, we believe they were running a quiet scam. Pick older targets. Wait for them to die, or help them get there faster. Then forge the papers. Collect, clean, and sell. Help them? He didn't answer. Just said, that's what we're investigating. Julie was charged with fraud, forgery, identity theft, attempted arson, and conspiracy. Travis was arrested a few days later. He confessed almost immediately, gave up everything. Said Julie had a plan to target 5 more people by fall. But here's where it hit me. One of the folders had my son's address on it. Notes about his job, travel dates, who he lived with. Julie had been planning to follow up with him, maybe as a fake estate manager after I died. She wasn't just stealing. She wanted to erase people. Rewrite their lives for profit. And I never saw it coming. I had to sit with that for a long time. The trial was long and ugly. Julie never looked at me once. Not even when they played the video of her on my porch. Not even when Walt testified about the U-Haul. Not when the fire department described the arson attempt. When the verdict came down, guilty on all charges, I didn't feel relief. I felt rage. I'd lost more than furniture. More than money. I'd lost trust. In people. In myself. I'd let someone into my life, let her near the last pieces I had left of my wife. She was sentenced to 22 years. Travis got 12. After the trial, one of the officers handed me a sealed envelope. Said it came from evidence. Inside was a note. Handwritten. In her neat, slanted script. You were supposed to die. You just wouldn't stay dead. I burned it. Then I did something else. I bought her house. It went up for auction a few months after the trial, seized by the county. I showed up. No one bid. So I did. Paid cash. Got the keys 2 weeks later. I didn't want to live in it. I didn't even want to go inside. I had one thing in mind. I waited until the paperwork was finalized. Then I walked through the empty rooms one last time. Took a match. And lit the place up. I didn't report it. I didn't call for help. I just watched it burn from my porch. The fire marshal called it accidental. Said the place had old wiring. I didn't argue. Walt came over later, handed me a cold beer, and said, "That's one way to end it." I nodded. Hell of a way to make sure no one moves in again. That was last fall. Now, the lot sits empty. Overgrown. Quiet. Sometimes, I sit out there in the evening and stare at it. It's not justice. Not really. But it's something.